and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today I am doing my August wrap-up, so you probably can't see it, but I have my giant stack of books that I've read so far this month. Today is, let me check, today is August 29th, so we do still have another couple days. However, the books that I'm reading right now are Quicksilver, which I just started it last night, so I highly doubt I'm going to be able to finish this in 2 days with how much I have going on in the next couple days, but I did start that, so I guess it's a possibility that I could finish it. And then I'm also listening to the audiobook of The Martian by Andy Weir, and by the way, I'm loving the audiobook so much. Like, I'm on the edge of my seat. I already cried. Anyway, this is not a reading vlog, but yeah, so I think I still have like 7 hours of listening time for that as well. So again, don't think that I will be finishing that before August ends, but never say never, who knows. So yeah, let's get right into it. I have quite a variety this month, I feel like. I have a couple rereads, which, because they're rereads and it's Throne of Glass and I don't want to give away spoilers, I probably won't really dive into my thoughts too much on these. But I did do some rereads. I had read 3 of these books for a reading vlog, so again, those ones I've already talked about my feelings about them on this channel, so if you want super in-depth reviews of those, definitely go watch that video. I can link it in the description. And we have more rereads, as well as a couple new fantasies, a romance. One of them is a cozy fantasy that I just finished, and yeah, I'm excited to get into all of my ratings and my thoughts on these books. So I also have these in order of how I read them throughout the month. So I started off the month with a reread of Throne of Glass. I've already said this in previous videos, but if you have not read Throne of Glass yet, I highly recommend. This is my first reread of them, and I've been waiting to do the reread because I knew that I would be re-obsessed and not want to read anything else, and that kind of did happen to me. Towards the middle of the month, I was like, oh, should I just continue and just use this whole month to read them? But I have so many books on my TBR too that I want to get through, so I decided it'd probably be best to split them up month by month. So I did start with Throne of Glass. Well, I actually started with Assassin's Blade, but that was kind of at the end of last month. So anyway, we're just going to start with Throne of Glass. I did annotate it a little bit. It's just so cool going back and seeing these characters start all over from the beginning, knowing where their journey takes them and how much, character growth and things happen in this story. It makes it even more exciting to go back, as well as I feel like on a reread, I'm really noticing a lot of Easter eggs and things that Miss Sarah J. Maas loves to sprinkle throughout these books. So highly recommend. Obviously, this is still a 5 out of 5 stars. Yeah, that was my first read of the month. And then I started the reading vlog that I was talking about. Like I said, if you want super in-depth my thoughts in the moment while reading these, I would definitely suggest watching that. But I started off that reading vlog reading The Game Changer by Lana Ferguson. I love Lana Ferguson, The Fake Mate, and The Nanny. I gave both of those 5 stars, so I was super psyched to go into this. I think I ended up rating this, what did I rate this? Rating this 4 stars, so still pretty good, but I would say that The Fake Mate is still my favorite by her. This is a sports romance. You have Ian Chase, who is a hockey player, and then Delilah Baker, who is, what do you know, a baker, and she's also kind of not a social media influencer, but I think she's on she has a local cable cooking show or something like that. And I don't know, this was cute. This was very spicy. Lana Ferguson's books are very spicy, so just know that going in whether you're into that or not. But yeah, 4 stars, sports romance. I had a fun time reading this in the vlog. It was great. And then we moved directly from that book in that vlog into another romance, Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. I don't know if this is considered a dark romance. I've seen some people consider it as a dark romance, but I don't really think it was that dark. However, this book was very atmospheric, as all of Penelope Douglas's books have been so far for me. I don't know what it is that she does, or like the way that she writes, but I can just clearly picture everything in my head like it's a movie. And I gave this 4.5 stars because of that, because I was so immersed that I had to go and change my clothes. I had to change my outfit and my vibe to match this freaking book. So yeah, 4.5 stars. This is about high schoolers who are pen pals. Actually, hold on. Okay, I'm back. It was just the mailman, but my window's open and I don't know why, but didn't want him hearing me just up here talking to the camera. But anyway, back to Punk 57. This is about, well, so they start out as pen pals in like the 5th grade. Their teachers are, you know, pairing kids up with other kids that are supposed to be the same gender so that they can have a pen pal friend, and because of their names, things get mixed up and they accidentally get paired together as pen pals. And as they grow up and they're in like high school and stuff, I think this is set in their senior year, they are still sending each other letters. They're like best friends. They know everything about each other, and they have this pact that they are not going to look each other up on social media. They're never going to meet in person. They don't want to like burst that bubble. Well, lo and behold, and this is all on the back, by the way, lo and behold, they do accidentally run into each other, but only he knows that it's her, and he thinks that she's very different from what her letters portray, and he's not that happy about that. And this leads like to a whole slew of things that go on, and it's just a really fun time. It is a little bit spicy. Most of Penelope Douglas's books as well are spicy, but yeah, I just had a great time with this, and I now know why people love this one so much. Like, I feel like it's a classic amongst her books, and I recommend if you like spice and you like Penelope Douglas. 4.5, like I said. In the same vlog, I moved on to The Ritual, and I didn't love it. I know a lot of people really, really love this, and I don't want to like hate on it too much, solely for the fact that I think the reason that I didn't like it is because it's dark romance, it's very smutty, and don't get me wrong, like I like some spice in my books, but I don't want it to be all spice, you know what I mean? Like, I end up getting bored if there's not enough emotional character depth, if there's not enough build up, if there's not enough tension and angst and background story and plot happening. Like, I need kind of more, I guess, if that makes sense. So, and it could have been that I just like read it at the wrong time. I wasn't in the mood for it. I don't know. But this does seem to happen to me a lot with dark romance, where I just end up rating it kind of lower because I don't love it. And so that's nothing against the author or this book. So just, you know, keep that in mind. Take this with a grain of salt. But yeah, I think I rated this around a 3 stars. It was just it was dark to me. I've heard some people say it's not that dark. I thought it was dark. I thought it was very spice heavy, very much, I don't know. Just like look up your trigger warnings, I guess, if you do want to read this, but some people really love it. So I'm not going to say that I don't recommend it. That was just my reading experience. Again, if you want to know more in depth about any of those 3 books, check out my reading vlog where I read all of them. And then I ended that reading vlog and I went directly back into my reread of Throne of Glass. Obviously, I went into Crown of Midnight and then Heir of Fire, annotated them both, had an amazing freaking time, and really heavily contemplated going straight into Queen of Shadows. But I stopped myself. I took a break. I think I'm going to keep Queen of Shadows for September. That's the plan. Again, I'm not going to say too much because like these are kind of in the middle of the series. I remember liking Crown of Midnight the first time around, but I liked it even more the second time around, and I think that's going to be a common theme with this reread, because I pick up on so many more Easter eggs and little things here and there, and just everything about the characters, about the path that they are starting to go on. I'm obsessed. And here's the thing, with Throne of Glass, I keep thinking like, oh, this book, like this is it, this is amazing, 5 out of 5 stars, they're all 5 out of 5 stars. But then the next one I'll be like, oh my god, I somehow like this even more, how do I rate it even higher, right? And then I end up reading this, and I'm like, oh my god, I somehow like this even more, how do I rate it even higher, right? And then I end up reading this, and I'm like, oh my god, I somehow like this even more, how do I rate it even higher, right? And then I end up reading this, and I'm like, oh my god, I somehow like this even more, how do I rate it even higher, right? And then I end up reading this, and I'm like, oh my god, I somehow like this even more, how do I rate it even higher, right? And then I end up reading this, and I'm like, oh my god, I somehow like this even more, how do I rate it even higher, right? And then I end up reading this, and I'm like, oh my god, I somehow like this even more, how do I rate it even higher, right? And then I end up reading this, and I'm like, oh my god, I somehow like this even more, how do I rate it even higher, right? And then I end up reading this, and I'm like, oh my god, I somehow like this even more, how do I rate it even higher, right? And then I end up reading this, and I'm like, oh my god, I somehow like this even more, how do I rate So yeah, that's how I felt about Air Fire. This is honestly, to me, such an underrated book. Like, I know I've heard a lot of people say that this isn't their favorite in the series, or like not even in their like top. The setup in this one, I am obsessed. I heavily annotated, like I annotated the crap out of this. There is a certain section, a certain training sequence that starts to begin around the middle of this book that it just sets everything up so well, and I'm beyond obsessed. And I'm gonna stop talking about it because I'm saying a whole lot of nothing to you. But yeah, 5 out of 5 stars, 6 out of 5 stars. It's amazing. Like I said, I really wanted to go into Queen of Shadows, but I stopped myself, and I picked up another little sports romance that I have been hearing a lot about, and I had just recently purchased this. And something about me is that no matter how many books have been on my TBR cart, and no matter how long they've been on there, if I buy a new release, like, I want to read it right freaking now. Ugh. Reminder to drink your water. So I purchased this and pretty much immediately started reading it. I just needed a cute little romance, a little palate cleanser, if you will. But this is about Summer Preston, who is a student at this college, and Aiden Crawford, who is a hockey player for this college. Honestly, I don't really remember a ton about this book, which is probably why I rated it middle of the road, like 3 stars. Like, it was good, it was fun, it just wasn't anything that I think is going to stick with me. I don't think I'm gonna like think about it that much, but it was a good, like a generally good time. But yeah, so you have Summer and Aiden, who it's kind of like dislike to love, right? It is spicy. There were quite a few spicy scenes. But yeah, she basically has to, or he has to help her with her like thesis project because some things happen, and then, you know, so you get some forced proximity. They have to kind of like learn to work together, and things ensue, and you know what happens with romance, so don't even have to tell you. But yeah, I mean, 3 stars. It was a good time. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. I don't really remember everything that happened, honestly. I went into Daughter of No Worlds, which this is one of those books that I was talking about, has been on my TBR cart forever, for like over a year at least, I would say. And everybody and their grandma is like, you should read this book, it's amazing. It's a trilogy. I did order the second book after reading this one because of how it ends, and just I did enjoy it. I ended up rating this 4.5 stars? 4 stars? Yeah, okay, so I did rate this 4 stars. This is about Tisana, who is a slave, and she has been a slave her whole life, but now she's in her late teens. I think she's like 19, and she is trying to earn her way out of slavery, like buy her freedom back. And this is all in the back, but she ends up having a tussle with the man who owns her, and one thing leads to another, and she's forced to flee to Ara, which is where the Orders are, and they are an organization of magic wielders. And that's kind of been her plan all along, right? Is that she has magic, but it's more like, in her mind, it's more just like showy magic. She creates these pretty butterflies that go along with her dances when she's entertaining men and people. But she goes to the Orders, and again, insert training sequence, which I love a fantasy with a good training sequence. I don't know what you would call it. And she gets thrust upon Maxentarius Farleone, who is a prior Order member, but he technically still has to like answer to the Orders, even though he's non-active, non-practicing. He lives in this little cottage out in the kind of the middle of nowhere. He tends to his garden, and you can tell that like some things have happened in his past to make him hate the Orders and not want anything to do with them. He just wants to go off on his own, live his own life, until Tisana is dropped upon his doorstep, and he's like, no, I'm not training her. We're not doing that. Like, and then the Orders basically tell him he has no choice, and so things ensue, and yeah, forced proximity. They are forced to work together. Tisana must master her magic and survive the Order's demands. As her feelings for Maxentarius deepen, she is forced to decide how much she's willing to trade away for revenge. And something happens in here that, obviously I'm not going to give anything away, but something happens that really I did not expect at all, and it puts it's a whole new, like, plot device, puts a whole new spin on everything, and it really kept me engaged. Like, the plot in this was very good. I love Carissa Broadbent's writing style. I've read The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I read that duology and absolutely loved it. I know some people, her writing's kind of hit or miss. I feel like for some people, you either love it or you don't really gel with it so much. I am a fan for sure. So I can't wait to read the second book in this series. It's called The War of Lost Hearts. It's a trilogy. I really enjoyed my time with this. I didn't quite get the 5-star feeling, but we will see. Maybe book 2 or 3 will bump this series as a whole up in rating. So I do recommend this if you are a romantasy lover, if you like strong, fierce female main characters and romantasy, slow burn, all of that. So I ended the month, the month, like I said, isn't completely over, but I'm ending the month off with The Spell Shop. I mean, for one, look at this cover. This cover completely ensnared me in the store, and I had to have it. It has the lilac or like lavender sprayed edges, but this cover really spoke to me. This is a cozy fantasy, but I think this cover is really giving like just warm and the epitome of what you want a cozy fantasy to be. There is this, I don't know if you can see it, there's this little winged cat on the steps here. So cute, with the sun streaming through on this little cottage. Anyway, very cottagecore, very cozy fantasy. There are tons of different magical creatures in here, like ones I've never heard of. You have like mer horses and like the winged cats, like I said. Our female main character, Kiela, I don't actually know what kind of, I don't know if she's human or what, but she's described as having blue skin and like dark blue hair. So just like really cool magical creatures that you don't see in most fantasy, I feel like. So yeah, this starts off with Kiela, who she works in the library in Elysium, which is like their big city, and she is tasked with protecting and keeping an eye on these spell books, which spell books and spells and magic are not allowed to be done by anybody but like trained sorcerers. Like the government has control over magic and stuff. So she works in the library with her assistant Kaz, who is a sentient spider plant. When I read this in the synopsis, the words sentient spider plant, I was sold. I was like, immediately, yes, I don't need to know anymore. And I was proved correct, because Kaz in this story is absolutely freaking adorable and amazing. He's just, I don't know, he's got the best humor. He's sarcastic. He's afraid of fish and goats because he's a plant. For example, as they're like, so let me back up. The revolutionaries come and start burning down the city and the library where she works, and so she and Kaz have to flee with some of these spell books. They get in a boat and they end up going to her home island of Caltree to get away and protect these spell books, keep them safe, hide them, whatever. And they go to get in the boat to escape, and Kaz is like, he's holding his leaves around himself, and she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, fish eat plants. Because he's afraid that the fish are going to eat him. I don't know. It's so cute. I love him. I love their dynamic. This book honestly feels like if Animal Crossing were a book, but with some stakes. Like cozy fantasy usually is a whole lot of nothing. But I will say this book did a great job at having just enough stakes and plot to keep me interested and keep me turning the page and wanting to know what happens, while also still having all of those cozy fantasy elements that you want, where you just it feels like a warm hug. It feels like turning your face into the sunlight and just soaking it up. So I don't know if I'm explaining this well enough at all. That tends to happen with books that I really, really love. I rated this 5 stars, by the way. But that tends to happen with books that I really love, where I can't quite put into words exactly how much or why I loved it. But if you do like cozy fantasy, I highly recommend this. There is a little bit of romance, but there's no spice in this, and it's just precious. It's wholesome, it's precious. This makes me want to go live in a cottage in the woods. And yeah, need I say more? I do have a quote that I wanted to read from The Spell Shop, because obviously I wrote a little review because it's a book that I'm obsessed with. He smiled, and the expression transformed him from ordinary into stunningly handsome. It was like the sun coming out from behind the clouds over a stormy sea. Obsessed. So when I first picked this book up too, I thought this was a debut novel. I don't know why I thought that at all, because in the back with the authors section, it says that she's actually written, like, I think it says like 25 other fantasies and stories, and I did not know that. So that makes sense though that it's not a debut novel, because the writing was like so good. I highly enjoyed like her manipulation of words and sentences, and her ability to really, like I said, just make you feel the vibes of a cozy fantasy and just feel so warm and so in the story. Every time I picked up this book, I was savoring it, and that hasn't really happened to me, I feel like, since the last cozy fantasy that I read, which was probably last cozy fantasy that I read and really loved, which was probably Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. But those books also, something about them, I just savor every single word, and they just scratch a certain part of my brain that can only be scratched by cozy fantasy, it seems. So anyway, highly recommend The Spell Shop if you enjoy cozy fantasy. It was the best time, and anytime I wasn't reading, I was thinking about this book. But anyway, I think that is everything. Like I said, I'm in the middle of Quicksilver right now, as well as listening to The Martian, so we'll see if those end up being in next month's wrap up. If they're not, then you'll know that I read them this month. But I tend to leave a lot of like reviews and stuff, and take pictures, a lot of pretty pictures of books over at my Bookstagram. So if you want to follow me there, it's Courtney_.reads_. But I, as always, will have that linked in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, all the things, all the YouTube things. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you made it to this point, leave a little plant emoji in the comments so that I know. And yeah, thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!